keeping yours on. Assalamu alaikum, and you are listening to EAVA FM 102.5 FM.
Yeah, it's Ramadan special.
It is.
Ramadan special, Salma.
Ramadan special. EAVA FM rate. It is Connect. It's us again. We're back.
Yeah, been here all week. Have you?
Yeah,
Waiting for today.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it's just the highlight of my week.
Thank you. I know.
Spending time with you, Seema. That's what it is.
I think it's the highlight of a lot of other people who are listening. But I need to know, are you listening? Come on, you know what to do. Can you just text us? Send us a message. Let us know we're listening. If you're listening, we'll carry on with the show. If you're not, Salma and I just carry on chatting to each other.
Yeah.
So what's the number?
So if you are listening and you do want to contact us, it's on 07450 925 084.
Text, yeah.
Yeah, text away.
Or call. They can call in the studio.
Oh gosh, would it be nice if somebody actually called us for once? We never get any calls.
Studio number?
0116 212 9324.
And you can also join us on Facebook if you really want to see what we look like.
Oh gosh, yes.
Yes, so you can see us. You can join us live on Facebook. And we'll give you a shout out if you do.
Yeah.
When you do.
If you're listening, if you're with us today, then do let us know because we can give you a shout out. We can tell people that you're out there. So tell us who you are. You can even tell us where you're listening from. It'd be really nice to get somebody from far away, wouldn't it, Seema?
Far, far away.
Yeah, we mentioned that last week, but
Lord.
we only got Audrey. Can you?
Yeah.
Oh gosh, you're on Facebook. Oh my goodness me.
For everybody, for the world to see.
There you go.
Yeah.
Lovely in your orange today, orange and blue.
Or as somebody said, when I went to a shop and they were serving samples, a gentleman said, lovely in the burnt orange with that hand action. Burnt orange, yes.
Yes, definitely. Anyway, so Seema, what have you been up to all week? What's been going on in your life?
I've been fasting.
Alhamdulillah.
Yeah. But, I did actually have a very bad day. One really bad day. I think everybody has either one or two bad days, but I literally thought I was coming down with the flu. So on Tuesday, I just couldn't get out of bed. I literally spent the whole day in bed. Every joint was aching. I felt feverish. I mean, I thought I had a temperature, but I couldn't find the thermometer, which is just as well because it's a really stubborn thermometer. It just doesn't like to move.
Oh, does it not?
You know when you know you've got a temperature, but the
it's
thermometer doesn't agree with you.
Yeah.
So annoying. So I had a temperature. I'm just telling you.
You just had it. Yeah.
I did. And my daughter came up with the theory because I was praying, please just let it be a short-lived thing. I don't want it to develop and that. My daughter said, "Oh, you've probably got keto flu." Don't even ask me. But she said, keto flu. Anyone ever heard of it? Keto flu? Sounded pretty cool, actually. She said it's when the body becomes a fat-burning machine.
Wow.
You are looking at fat-burning
looking very
machine.
lean, I have to say, Seema.
So I think it's that transition. When you go into that transition, then you can get like a keto flu.
So are you doing the keto diet then? Is that what you're trying to tell us?
I'm just fasting. But the thing is, apparently,
fasting,
the
but none
next
of us
day,
have.
the incredible thing is that the next day, I actually started to feel better to the point that by the time it was evening, I felt like I was on a high. I mean, so it was just incredible. It was obviously...
So listeners, do we all want to share Seema's fasting diet?
Not the bad part, not the bad part.
Yeah, not the bad part, yes.
But the good part was really good.
Yeah, especially the high
When
bit.
it was good, it was very, very good.
So
when
it's
it
a
was
halal
bad,
way
it was
to
horrid.
get high. Is it a halal high?
A halal high.
Wow,
yeah.
fantastic.
Brilliant. I know. Yeah. So, Salma, what happened last week? You were telling us about the Ramadan food drive.
Yes. Oh my gosh.
How was it?
How
was it?
I mean, it was absolutely amazing. If you missed out, I don't know how. Why would you miss out?
Because I don't think anyone... I think the whole of Leicester was there.
I think they really were. We were absolutely inundated with food. I just could not believe how much food we had donated. And, I mean, people were just coming with car full of items and we had everything under the sun from... so much cereal and baked beans and tin tomatoes.
Absolute
crates. I mean, we filled, I don't even know how many crates we filled.
I saw you on the telly.
Did you see me on the telly?
Saw you on the TV, you on the radio, Mercury. I mean, the whole media was there.
Everyone wanted a piece of the action, you see.
Absolutely,
yes.
yeah.
So, I mean,
really good job.
I think we filled about 7 vanfuls.
Fantastic. So we're still they're still counting, aren't they?
Yeah, it seems like we've just overwhelmed them with the amount of food.
So we don't know, do we? We don't know how much.
We don't know how much, but as soon as we do, we'll
it was
let
certainly
everyone
a few
know.
tons for sure.
Oh gosh, yeah, it was a phenomenon, and we can't thank and say Jazakallah enough to
Everyone's
everyone
so
that
excited
donated
about it. But, you know, the ads are still on, but it's actually taken place
Yeah,
already.
it's already taken
I think
place,
it's just because they like the sound of my voice.
That's what it is,
I
Seema.
think
That's
so,
what it is. Yeah.
We've got
Have we got
some
any
people
listeners?
joining. Is it Ashfaq,
Ashfaq.
Amanullah, and Saraya Adam have joined? Naima Ravat. Thank you for joining us.
Oh, lovely. It's good to know that we do have listeners, that we're not just talking to each other.
No, it's fantastic.
I mean, we do have a guest in the studio who's also listening. And he's not just here to
Listening
listen.
to our Binta Banter.
Yes, Binta Banter. And he's not here just to listen. We are going to introduce him in a short while,
Lovely.
and you'll get to know why he's here. But we do have a question for our listeners today. What do we want? What do we want?
We want you to get
respond
involved. We want you to get involved, and we want to hear from you about. We're going to call this bit "Only in Ramadan." So your "Only in Ramadan" anecdotes. What happens in your family? What are the things that you say, you see, you do, you eat? Only in Ramadan. We want the funny, we want the serious. So let us know. Got any examples, Salma? Only in Ramadan.
Oh, only in Ramadan. Well, I've got two.
Okay.
One very obviously serious and proper one, which is that I only go to the mosque to pray in Jamaat in Ramadan during the night time, of course. Yes, at night. So that's the only thing, you only do that in Ramadan. And the foodie one, because we all have to have a foodie one, don't we?
Yeah.
It's the milkshakes, the sarbat, you know, the pink milk. Pink milk.
With the black bits.
Well, I don't put the black bits in because the others don't like. They think they look like tadpoles, don't they?
Yeah, frog spawn.
But so it's like, oh no, I don't think so, Mum. But the pink milk comes out in Ramadan and then goes back again at the end.
The ruafza or any sort of pink milk. Yeah.
Yes.
No, well, there's certain things that happen. I mean, how many of you actually at sahur, in a panic, you know, sort of in desperation, drink far more water than you can hold and then spend the rest of the time just going to the loo and find you haven't slept, so you wake up exhausted. It's not as if you're getting enough sleep anyway. So many trips to the loo. That's certainly one of the things. And how many of you have, like, you know, the things, you know, sort of, get up, it's time for sahur, you're gonna miss sahur, it's almost time, get up. How many of you have got one person who just doesn't get up?
Oh yes, we all have one of those in the house.
And takes in. Well, there's so many more. I'm sure you could. Have you heard this one? 8 or 20.
Oh gosh, yes.
8 or 20.
Yeah. Yes.
Well, so you know what we're talking about. So, what have we got?
I've got a text. Do you want to read this one?
Salams, this is Asiya Ravat listening, here to support my mom, Salma, the legend, and Seema auntie, the other legend. Oh, we didn't even ask her to do that.
We didn't. I didn't.
Lovely.
Honestly, trust me, I didn't bribe her. Assalamu alaikum, Asiya, my darling. Are you all right?
Lovely to have youngsters listening in.
She's revising very hard for her A levels, so please do make lots of dua for her. That Allah Ta'ala makes it very successful.
For everybody who's revising and studying and working hard.
Yeah. And Em, if you're still there, hi Em. That's her best friend who they're studying together.
Lovely.
Okay. Yes. So
text it, give them a number again, please. So if they want to text in with their
do you want to tell us
only
about
in
your
Ramadan?
Only in Ramadan? It's 07450 925 084.
I want to do that number. I'm going to do it now in my radio voice.
Go on then.
07450 925 084.
Well done. Okay, I'm going to move on. Let's introduce our guest. Otherwise, people are going to think, who's that man?
Yes.
Can they see the man?
Gentleman.
Oh, is it a gentleman?
Yes.
Okay
gentleman.
Then. Yes. Okay then. So we do have a guest now on the show. And today's show, a little bit serious. We're going to be talking to Keith Hebden, who's with us today, who is the community organiser for Leicester Citizens. And we're going to find out what he does, why he does what he does, and how you can get involved. But really, more importantly, why it's so important as Muslims to get involved in the work of Leicester Citizens. And it's something that he actually brought to my light. He said something to me the other day when we were talking, and I just thought, I never thought of it like that. And what he said to me was, the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, when he went to Medina, he set up civil society. And I thought, gosh, I've never thought of it like that before. Because you read and you know the Siri, you know, but sometimes you need somebody else to point something out. And I then went back and I started reading up about it, and I thought, gosh, that's very true. Because when he left Mecca, he went to Medina, And there he actually became the head of the political and spiritual society. And he actually had to set up a whole new society there, very different from what they were used to. Obviously, the people there were actually quite responsive towards it, but he created, he basically built community, he developed the laws, he sort of set up the social institutions, the mosque, the relationships with the other faith groups that were in Medina, set up the Constitution of Medina, which basically the alliance or federation for that city. And sometimes I think we just tend to forget that the Prophet ﷺ, we forget he is an example. He's our example. He's the living example that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sent to us. And we follow him in our prayers. We follow him in, obviously, our fasting and in all things, inshallah, to do with our religion. But actually, if he's the sunnah, if he's the person that we are supposed to follow, he is somebody we're supposed to follow in all aspects of our life. And these are some of the things that we tend to sometimes forget about. And it was really nice talking to Keith in this sort of respect and in this. Thank you to Keith for bringing that to my attention. And that's why I thought actually it might be really good to actually have him on the show and talk a bit about Leicester citizens and how we as Muslims can become more involved in our civil society and helping to develop our society, our community here in Leicester. And that's why he's joining us today. Hi, Keith.
Hi.
Are you all right?
I'm well, thank you.
Sorry, I hope we haven't shocked you too much with our binter banter.
No, I haven't, but I have questions about it all. And like, what was the 8-10 thing?
Oh,
8:20
yes.
actually.
8:20.
Yeah.
8:20. Okay, tell me after.
Yeah. Well, the listeners will know, won't they?
Yes.
It's to do with prayers, the number of prayers.
Okay.
Nighttime prayers.
At night time.
Whether you do 8 rounds
8 or
20.
Yeah.
Fine. Now I thought it was something rude.
Oh gosh, no, we're not allowed to be rude.
forbid.
This is Ramadan special on EAVA 102.5 FM. We are not allowed to be rude. Right.
Family show, yes.
Family show.
So anyway, it's wonderful to be with you. Thank you. And it's interesting that you've unpacked that a little bit, that thought that was just, out of my little knowledge, a little thought, but I want to find out more from you about that sometime.
Yeah. Okay. We'll go for coffee, shall we, after
let's
Ramadan?
go for coffee after Ramadan. And you can tell me all about, because I think there's so much to unpack about the sunnah of reweaving civic society. It's there. Is there anything more of a great example of literally rebuilding the institutions, of developing new leaders, of helping to build justice and having the imagination and the vision to say, here's the world as it is, here's the world as it should be.
Yeah, exactly.
And then people in Mecca recognise that, right, and invite him back.
Yeah.
It was I think it was pioneering work in the time of the Prophet, peace be upon him, because, establishing that pluralistic society and making those connections with everybody, it was original work. Yeah.
I'm going to introduce Keith properly because I'm not giving him justice. Keith is actually been community organising for over 10 years. First as an activist, then as an Anglican priest, and now as the community organiser for Leicester Citizen. He's written books on faith and public life, and he used to actually be an RE teacher. I find that very surprising. I didn't know that about Keith.
Okay,
I don't know. Anyway, but in this bit I did sort of know a little bit about because friend and colleague Helen mentioned it in the past. But Keith in 2014 actually undertook a 40-day fasting 40 days of fasting in prayer and solidarity with people going hungry in Britain. So, and it was part of a national campaign with the Trussell Trust and other partners. And this is something I did sort of know a little bit about, but you're fasting for your 40 days. I'm assuming you didn't just go without food and drink for the whole 40 days.
Certainly I carried on drinking.
Right.
Like the idea of, I think I would have died.
I think you would have, yeah.
But a lot of people thought I was going to as well. I would have fruit juice in the morning.
Yeah.
And then I'd have hot water or mint tea or something. And then what I'd do is I'd have hot water. When you've steamed vegetables.
Yeah.
And there's that kind of the water that's at the bottom.
Yeah.
The vegetable water.
The vegetable water. I would drink that. But what I would do is I would have it with a bowl and a soup spoon. And I'd pretend it wasn't just like murky water. It was actually soup. So just to
no
trick
solids.
myself.
No solids.
No food at all for 40 days, 5.5 weeks.
Goodness.
And I think that's, because again, last week's show was about food poverty in Leicester, and about the number of people and children that are living in poverty. And I think the latest statistic puts that at about 40,000 children just in Leicester City that live in poverty. And I think we should be quite ashamed of ourselves in a country as rich as this, that we have so many people living in poverty. But we're going to move on and start actually talking about Leicester Citizen, because as usual, the time just runs away with us, and we could talk about lots of other things as well. But let's have you back. But let's talk about the Citizens' work.
Sure.
So what is Leicester Citizens, Keith?
So Leicester Citizens is an alliance of local civic institutions. So we've been around for 30 years, starting in East London, and then, but only in Leicester, really since September, which was when I was appointed, but slowly building for the 12 months before that. And what happens is that churches, mosques, schools, colleges, and charities and unions can join. So individuals don't join. Institutions become members of Leicester Citizens by paying dues. That means we own it for ourselves, so the members own it for themselves. It doesn't belong to government. There's no funding from government for it, either national or local. And I would say, if you own the rug under your feet, no one can pull it out. And it's really important that we own our own alliance. And what we do with that is develop leaders. And those leaders then find out what they have in common. So can I give you an example from Nottingham Citizens? They ran a listening campaign, listened to hundreds of people, and hate crime came up as a really big issue. And it was an issue for the leaders of the black institutions, for the LGBT Centre, and for a women's refuge, those 3 member institutions particularly, but in different ways. And they never normally talk to each other, those organisations. But they came into a room together, heard each other's stories, and worked on a campaign which meant that Nottingham was the first place to make misogyny a hate crime, the first place in the country where it became a crime to harass women in any way in the street, in public, to harass women. And now that's looking to become a national thing out of that campaign. And the living wage came out of our campaigns in London, so that's part of what Citizens UK does as well. The whole of the Olympic Games, we won getting that onto living wage.
Right. And I think that the other really good example I've seen recently is in the Northeast, where they've looked at children who are on free school meals and making sure that those children who have a little bit of money left from their school meal are actually given that money back to either use it for a break or in the morning whenever they want to, so that the school or whoever isn't just keeping hold of all that loose change. And when you've got children who are on have a school meal, are already going hungry, they probably haven't got enough money outside of school. That's probably the only hot meal they're getting during the day. And to think that, their few pennies, which eventually amounts to quite a lot, significant amount. And I read about that, and that was amazing that, they fought for that and they won that. And now children are getting the money that's rightfully theirs in the first place.
Yeah, and it's the sort of thing that unless it's happening to you, you wouldn't think of it.
Yeah.
And so that's why we work with people right at the grassroots and develop leaders right at the grassroots of the communities, because if you're at the sharp end of an unjust system, you know what's wrong with it.
Keith, do you mind if I'm aware that there are going to be listeners who've perhaps never heard of Citizens UK, who, even though we're here talking about it, don't really understand what it's about, even though I know we're here, but it takes time sometimes to understand. And I think there may be some people thinking, well, what are politicians there for? What's politics there for? Isn't that enough? Why do we need citizens?
Yeah, good question, because we vote, of course, and that's part of our civic responsibility. We're about what happens in between, but we also negotiate with businesses, so not just with political leaders. But we think that democracy is about what happens in between elections, not just about what happens at elections. And we also think that we have an ability to take responsibility for some stuff ourselves, not expect the politicians to do it all, because it's hard. They've got restrained budgets, they've got all sorts of pressures, and it's hard for them to run consultations, whereas we can run listening campaigns, which are very different, because they develop new leaders, because we own them ourselves and we own the responses ourselves. So it's not we hope to work with rather than against both our political and our business leaders. And sometimes there's tension in that relationship, but I think it's a bit like a sailboat, which I've never been on. But what I imagine is you need a little bit of tension in the sail. If there's no tension at all, then you just bob about in the water. If there's too much, you capsize. So we want to build relationships with our leaders in public life.
Would you say that voting for your politicians, you're handing over power to the politicians, and yet this is more, citizens is more about people power, having...
I guess what I'm saying is that by voting, we should be handing over a new relationship with our politicians. What we've tended to do is hand over power to them, but what we should be doing is, by putting that X in the box, is saying, I would like to work with this person over the next 4 years. This is the person I choose to help me rebuild this city and make the city what our shared vision of what it is.
So how does it actually work? So because you're talking about listening campaigns, you're talking about building leaders, and I can see that, again, some of our listeners will be like, what's a listening campaign? Do I need to become a leader? What does that involve?
So we say a leader is anyone who other people will follow. And we test that to see if people are leaders. Some people just have positions of authority, but they're not actually leaders. And I'm sure we all know a few of those. But you test leadership by seeing if people will follow your vision, your ideas. So in Leicester, we ran a listening campaign from September last year. We listened to 1,500 people, or rather, our leaders did that. And then we narrowed down, we heard back from them and narrowed this down to 3 things they wanted to work on together: homelessness and housing, mental health care and provision, and street crime and violence, doing something particularly about knife crime. Then they set up teams to work on those 3 areas to narrow that down onto something measurable and winnable. Not going to change all of that, but something that can change something. And then we thought, well, who can work with us on that? And we can see there are lots of people. Businesses can work with us. Our mayor, we hope, will work with us, and he's pledged to have a relationship with us, which is great. And perhaps the Health Authority and the CCG, the Clinical Commissioning Group, all sorts of people can work with us on making that stuff a reality.
So when you said you went out and listened to 1,500 people, how did that actually work? Because is that just people on the streets you're asking, or?
It really depends. Yeah. So, for example, the Winstanley School, one of our members in Braunston, the children went out and listened to other children. They listened to parents on Parents' Evening. They went out into the neighbourhood. And then One Roof Leicester, who listened to the clients they work with through the night shelter. The university listened to the students. So depending on the institution, they will run their listening campaign in different ways amongst whoever they considered their people to be.
So you listen to people of all ages. You don't have to be 16 or.
No, yeah, absolutely. Whoever your people are in your institution, those are the people we want to hear with. And we had a Year 8 student negotiating with with 2 politicians recently, and he did such a good job. And when we talk about developing leaders, it really is leaders of all ages.
Yeah. We're coming up to our ad break in a few seconds. So you're listening to Ramadan Special on EAVA FM, 102.5 FM. When we come back, we're going to carry on talking to Keith about Leicester citizens, and hopefully we'll have a conversation with a Muslim organisation, a Muslim man from a Muslim organisation about their involvement. So we'll be back in a few seconds. Assalamu alaikum. Assalamu alaikum, and you're listening to Ramadan special on EAVA FM 102.5 FM, and today you are listening to Salma and Seema on our show Connect. Assalamu alaikum, Seema.
Alaikum salam. Connecting with the community.
We are, yeah. We want to hear from our listeners though, don't we?
Yeah, text in.
Text in a little bit.
What's the number?
It's 07450925084.
I wonder if they've all got keto flu.
Do you think? Maybe they've just gone to sleep.
Yeah, a little afternoon. That's another
Little
thing.
afternoon.
Only in Ramadan.
Oh,
Only in
gosh,
Ramadan. I
yeah.
must admit, I'm not a napper. I don't usually nap. But in Ramadan, if I can, I do like to see if I can. I can't always, but a nap is always a delight in Ramadan, isn't it?
Yeah, it's just struggle to get up again afterwards.
Tell us what else goes on only in Ramadan. Give them a number, Salma.
07450925084. I've got one that my brother-in-law does only in Ramadan.
Yeah.
His local masjid serves everybody Zamzam water in Ramadan, but in plastic cups. So he goes every day to wash the cups.
Oh, wow. To
because
reuse
he uses
them.
Yes.
Lovely.
MashaAllah.
Isn't that nice?
I mean, literally hundreds of plastic cups. Amazing.
You know what? Only in Ramadan,
Go on.
the shelves are absolutely cleared of chickpeas. Chickpeas!
And croissants.
Croissants as well, really?
And cream.
Really?
I don't get that.
But it's the chickpea thing that, they're absolutely clear. And what about the Ramadan aisles? All the supermarkets, they're all cashing in, aren't they? The Ramadan aisles. What do they think we eat and we need in Ramadan?
Yeah.
Ghee. Oil. It's always,
It's amazing.
and then those juices, the mango and, and all this other thing. And you think, is that what I need? I need it. I need that in my life.
Yes.
Ramadan.
Ramadan won't be fulfilling if I don't have it.
If you don't have a fry up.
Yeah, that's right. So somebody's
Tell
asking, tell us what Zamzam water is. That's the holy water that you get in Mecca, just in case you don't know what Zamzam is.
Lovely.
But yes, so
text in with your only
do,
in
yeah.
Ramadan.
Only
And
in
thank you
Ramadan.
to Ahmed Dada for joining us. Shehnaz chopped that. Oh, she was last week's winner, Shehnaz, for the competition.
Well, she must have enjoyed this show because she's back again.
Tell your friends to join us too.
Cool.
Lovely.
So before the break, we were talking to Keith Hebden from Leicester Citizens about the work that they do. Welcome back, Keith.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Great to be with you.
Good, thank you. It's nice to have you here. So just before the break, we were talking a bit about who can get involved.
Yep.
So in Leicester, we were talking about that you've had the listening campaign. So what's that actually resulted in?
So we brought together 400 of our members in a big meeting where we spoke to the two candidates for mayor who had the most power already, who'd already done the work and built themselves a lot of power. There are other candidates as well, all with their manifestos, but we wanted to work with those decision makers. And we said, if elected, will you work with us on those issues I mentioned earlier? So getting more mental health training and experience in schools, so we can have beacon schools for mental health, for example. Supporting One Roof to have a year-round night shelter, and supporting our City Safe scheme. So the young people from the Winstanley School and the Life Multi-Academy Trust would like to see businesses around the city being trained and having signs up that say that they are a safe place if you feel under any pressure or you experience hate crime or you're worried about knife crime, that you can go somewhere, call the police, be somewhere safe.
So these asks that you've basically gone to these mayoral candidates with are not just for like individual organisations, are they? They're actually very much for the benefit of the whole community.
We want to build as wide and inclusive an alliance as possible because we think the more difference we have amongst our members, the more likely we'll have solutions that work for more people. So it's really important to us that we get members from every part of our community in our city.
So are there some sort of organisations that you would still like to join?
So loads, obviously, but I think if you're listening particularly, I would love us to have a madrasa or two in membership. There's places where leaders are developed, where people learn social responsibility and ethics, where people get to know each other better. And it always excites me when I see young people who, when they get to that age where they vote, they don't just think that's all it's about. Where they reach a point where they don't think, what's the point in getting involved in politics? Because nothing makes any difference. No one listens. I love to see young people realise they can make a difference. They really can win stuff and change stuff. And to realise, not to become more powerful, but to realise they already have power. It's just a matter of finding a way to use it.
Because, I mean, you talked about the Winstanley School, didn't you? So what age are we talking about there?
So that's 11 to 16-year-olds, but across the academy, 11 to 18-year-olds.
Yes, you've got children as young as 11 getting involved in this work.
We've had primary school age children involved, and in fact, part of that academy as well. But I remember seeing a 7-year-old negotiating with a county councillor when I was involved in this work in Nottinghamshire over making the roads safer outside her school.
So, Keith, how small does an organisation have to be able to join? Because you said you can't join as an individual, but you can join your organisation, school, place of worship can join. So, but how small?
So the biggest we've got is Leicester University. The whole university is a member, and they pay £10,000 a year to be our principal partner. And the diocese, the Anglican diocese, of course. The smallest I've ever known was an organisation of 8 members, and they paid dues of £250 a year. But each organisation gets 1 vote. So regardless of size, they all get 1 vote per organisation, but we structure the dues according to how much they can afford to pay.
Fantastic. You know, I'm sure we all have an idea, a vision of how we would like society to be. And I mean, I'm sure none of us can say we are entirely happy with the way things are. There are things that bother us, concern us, worry us as parents, as children. And the thing is that here is an organisation that we could support, we could join, or our organisation could join. You know, it's about giving us a voice. And so you have a vision, you want to make it real, make it happen. So we need to join hands.
Yeah.
So it sounds like, a good thing to join. By the way, thank you, Naila, Iqbal, for joining us again this week. Yeah.
And what's really interesting is that, like you said earlier, is that lots of different people are coming together from lots of different walks of lives and backgrounds and, support. And what you're tending to find is that actually through the discussions they're having, that they're actually finding that they've got very common issues that actually they share.
It's one of the most exciting things is seeing people talk to each other who normally wouldn't. And if anybody wants to get in touch with me about this, they can easily contact us through citizensuk.org/Leicester and get an email us from there, or just find me, keith.hebden@citizensuk.org. I'd love to hear from you.
Great. So if they have any questions that we're not able to cover today, they can contact you.
Yeah, that would be great.
Salma.
We'll come back to you in a minute, Keith. We have got our next guest on the phone waiting to speak to us. Assalamu alaikum, Brother Farooq Murad.
Wa alaikum salam. Salma, how are you?
Alhamdulillah.
And salam to everyone, I hope. Having great Ramadan, inshallah.
Jazakallah. How are you? How's your Ramadan going?
MashaAllah, it's almost gone.
I know.
We'll accept our prayers and fast.
Ameen. Brother Farooq Murad is the CEO of the Islamic Foundation in Martfield, and he's actually been involved in Citizens UK for a number of years and used to serve as a trustee. Am I right?
Yes, I have till recently.
So what made you get involved with Citizens?
Going back to, I think, quite a few years, early 90s, we were very concerned about the lack of opportunities for Muslims to play an active role in number of issues that confront us in society, whether it is the poor wages, religious discrimination, workers' rights, environment, so many. Whenever Muslims gather outside mosque, inside mosque, in their homes, they're always moaning, complaining about the crimes, the knife crime, security of, now of course the recent issue, security of places of worship, etc. But it seems that no one has any idea what to do about these things, because the institutions which regulate and run our affairs and lives, they're open to just once in 5 years for us to go in and vote, and even that we don't exercise quite often because we don't see the point.
Yeah.
So there's kind of frustration and feeling that, we are powerless, an acceptance of powerlessness. So when Citizens, which is broad-based community organizing idea, was presented to us by a key organizer who organizes this whole movement in Britain, Neil Jameson, a great man, colleague of mine, is now retired from the position of being director. So he approached us at the Islamic Society of Britain and other Muslim organizations. And I immediately thought this is very much an answer to the crisis and the need of time that we should get involved and make alliances. And the good thing is that, all the different faith organizations and community organizations with similar concerns, they can come together and make those who should be held accountable. They are held accountable. So whoever is responsible for the problem that we are facing, we actually exercise our power to make them accountable and bring about change. And that's very much, to me, was the answer, is what every Muslim should do, because, I know nowadays is Ramadan time, and thousands of us go to mosque every night to listen to the Quran. And you'd be surprised at how much of that Quran is about this kind of work. Is incredible. All the issues we talk about, the fiqh issue, that's not mentioned. But the book of guidance, which made this month special, the book of guidance, the night in which it was revealed, made that night Laylatul Qadr, the night of destiny and power. That book records in great detail the struggle of prophets and great people for justice, social justice, to uproot oppression, and so on. So this is the call to which we have to answer. So what we're doing about it. So I thought this Citizens offers us an opportunity to live our faith proactively, create these alliances, bring our perspective from our perspective from our faith as to what justice means, how it should play out in society, and take control of things rather than just remain helpless and powerless.
Farouk, can you give an example from the life of the Prophet, peace be upon him, perhaps, that you think is in line with the work that Citizens is doing?
Well, the whole life of the Prophet was, if you've started from Meccan period onwards, the example that comes to my mind is the very well-known incident of Hilf al-Fuzul. Now, Hilf al-Fuzul is a pact that was made to help vulnerable businessmen. There was a man who came from Yemen, brought his goods to sell in Mecca, and when he sold to the powerful traders in Mecca, and those traders refused to pay him. And this man would come from hundreds of miles from Yemen, and his livelihood of his family depended on him to sell his goods and buy something else or take the money back. He was deprived, so he was really left helpless, as many people in our societies today are on many occasions. The migrants, the homeless, and so on and so forth. So he approached some Prophet and some other people who felt he should be helped, and they created a pact to help such people, create an alliance to fight for the rights of those who are deprived of their rights. And as a result, they were able to bring justice. And Prophet ﷺ, may Allah have his mercy on him, he even later in his life in Medina said that if such an opportunity arose, even at that time, he would be happy to join hands, even with others. And the Quranic command of ta'awun al-birri wa taqwa, and cooperate on birr and taqwa for righteousness. We should cooperate beyond just, and Prophet signed many contracts with many communities, alliances and treaties for the good, for the common good. So we should stand for the common good. So I think there are many, many examples of that happening during Prophet's life.
And just one more question, because I know you need to go. How do we encourage more of our Muslim organizations to get involved in this?
Yeah, I think Muslim organizations have a duty to, the congregations, for example, go to masajid. Of course, masajid have taken a role of providing them facilities for worship, for prayer, and education. All very important, essential part of growing up as Muslims and being Muslims. But I think we cannot deny the fact that Prophet's first masjid, Masjid Nabawi, was the center for social action as well. That masajid should, and there are many, many people are frustrated. There are many issues, mental health issues, neighborhood safety, we talk about knife crimes. And last night we had, for example, this hit and run issue. So is there anybody going to come campaign for pelican crossings outside masajid? It was, first, and we knew the person. I just discovered he was a person known to me, and very sad that. And they were saying there isn't really outside this masjid where this incidents happen hundreds of children crossing road. These things bound to have any time, but who is going to campaign with the council to put those kind of security for the worshippers who come, to ensure they have better street lighting, better security, lesser speed limits, reduced to 20 miles per hour around the mosque because so many people are crossing all the time. So this kind of thing citizens can achieve. If masajid join as members for a very nominal fee and found 2 or 3 people from the masjid to play a role, they can take this issue up with a wider body, with the Leicester universities involved, in Montfort, the church, the Bishop of Leicester. They can all add their voice to that cause, and we can achieve something. Not just for Muslims. I think we should look at the needs of all people in our society and neighborhood, Muslims or not, who are not part of our community, and try to identify issues, campaign for them, and bring about change.
Jazakallah so much, Brother Farooq, for joining us. May the rest of your Ramadan go well. Inshallah, Allah will accept all your prayers, and inshallah remember us in your dua. Assalamu alaikum.
Inshallah. Great show, and advance Eid Mubarak to you and the listeners. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah.
I tell you, if that wasn't an incentive for masjids and madrasas to join, I mean,
Brilliant.
just that simple thing of getting, safety. And joining hands just for that, fantastic.
Which is something we've done. In Ashfield there was a road in Ashfield where a child was killed and 6 seriously injured, and we were told it couldn't be fixed unless 2 more people died. Then it would be made a dangerous road.
Unbelievable.
And we built an alliance around that issue. Built around that issue, and then. And we had the central reservation made longer. We had the change in the phase of the light so children can get across. Really practical, non-party political stuff that actually has probably saved lives.
And I think, there are really easy ways that we can actually all get involved. And I think as organisations, we have got a responsibility. I mean, like Brother Farooq just mentioned, we've had 2 incidents this Ramadan after Tarawih prayers, with road accidents, but there's so many other issues that touch all of us, whether it's mental health, whether it's poverty, whether it's something to do with
crimes,
anything. There's so many things that touch all of us, and I think sometimes we've got to just sort of get our head out of the sands and think that actually
and not feel helpless, because really, I mean, what a great exercise would be, have a think, take a few minutes out and think, what is it that bothers you? What are the things that bother you in society? What are you doing about it? What can be done about it? How? And then see, so break it down.
So Keith, if somebody's listening, maybe it's an organisation, it's a madrasa, a masjid, another community organisation, if they want to get involved, how do they get involved?
So the first thing they need to do is to have a conversation with me or someone from our sponsoring committee, the leadership group that runs Leicester Citizens, and they can get in touch with us through citizensuk.org/Leicester through that website, or they can email me directly, keith.hebden@citizensuk.org, and get in touch, or through Twitter. We're on Twitter @Leicester Citizen. And please do get in touch, and I would love to meet with you and find out about your organisation, and we can talk about how you might become members.
And it's that first step that you need to take, and then honestly, it's really quite easy after that. The support and the help and all the people around you, they're just there, aren't they? Just to sort of encourage you and get.
I've never known a job where I've got goosebumps on a regular basis. It's just the most exciting and exhilarating work to see people use their power for the common good. The stranger who I walk past on the pavement cares about this city just as much as I do. I just need to meet them.
Yeah.
It's great to see that enthusiasm in you. And I think it's the first time we've met, although there's that feeling like we've met before.
I reckon.
But please do get in touch with Keith. He's very easy to talk to, so I would encourage that.
Definitely. Thank you so much for coming on the show,
My
Keith.
pleasure.
But yes, please, everyone, you've got Keith's contact details. Do get in touch. Talk to your organisations. Get them to get involved. You're listening to Ramadan Special on EAVA FM 102.5 FM. We've only got a few minutes left. I must give a shout out to Hiba and Safa Murad.
You've got to do it like a proper DJ. Shout out.
To Hiba and Safa Murad. That name rings a bell. I'm sure I was just speaking to our brother Farooq Murad. Any connection? I wonder, Seema. I wonder.
My girls.
Your
Hibba
girls.
and Safa, thank you for listening. I've actually had a message, and it says, I would like just one Ramadan where I don't have to make onion bhajis, pakoras as we know them. Lots of love, May and Fazilat. And she says the show's sounding great. How many people? I know some people they can't break their fast without an onion bhaji.
An onion bhaji, yeah,
It's
it's
as if
very
it doesn't
true.
count.
Or even any type of savoury fried fruit. I mean, I personally need a date.
Yes.
That's usually my go-to thing, and a glass of water. But
I have warm water.
I have warm water as well, of course. Why would you put anything else in your stomach? It's got to be warm water, yes, definitely. But yeah, alhamdulillah, we've had a really interesting show. We've had lots of you texting in and getting in touch. Sorry if we didn't read out your message, but you can. We've still got a few minutes, so do tell us, your once in a year.
Yeah. So
your
it's
Ramadan,
your only in Ramadan
only in
stories.
Ramadan stories.
Yeah. So we've got so many other things. I mean, what you've got the. Did you start fasting on Monday or Tuesday?
Was it Tuesday or Wednesday?
Well, Monday. Well, it was Monday or Tuesday, depending
Wednesday.
on. Yeah.
I heard that Wednesday.
No,
There were some
I didn't hear a
Wednesdays.
Wednesday,
I
no.
heard about the Wednesdays.
I didn't know about the Wednesday people.
There were no Saturdays, but
How
definitely
about?
Wednesdays.
I bet Keith may have heard this one. A lot of non-Muslims. When you tell them about fasting, it's like, what? Not even water? I'm sure it's got its own hashtag. Safa was telling me it's got its own hashtag as well. What? No, not even water.
Not even water.
Because people, that's when they
that is
say,
an amazing thing to do.
Yes, because people. I mean, there's a lot of other cultures that when people fast, they don't generally include no water.
That's right.
So you have to sort of like, not even water.
Not even water, no.
So that's the thing that people find shocking.
Because you can fill your stomach with water, can't you? You can feel quite full, actually, with a bit of water, with that kind of fasting. It's still amazing that people do it, but you feel that.
There's so many health benefits that people are talking about now, aren't they? About intermittent fasting, describing it in so many ways. And then you've got Michael Mosley with his
5-2
5-2?
diet.
Yes, that's right.
I felt amazing when I fasted in the morning. I would wake up and I would just be so full of energy.
Yeah.
And then I'd hit 7 o'clock in the evening and it was like a wall.
Yeah, you get like a little dip.
Yeah.
That's when you need your nap.
That's when you need your nap.
Sleep is the new food.
Yeah, definitely. That's what it is. Definitely in Ramadan. Definitely.
But there
sleep
have been
is
a
the new
lot
food.
of, everybody's heard about so many sort of scientific research about the amazing benefits. And of course, we all Muslims all pretend we knew that all along.
Yeah, we've known it
We
for the past
invented it.
1400 years.
Yeah.
You're amazing.
We invented it, yes.
We did. We're just waiting. I mean, I was talking to my son about this, and he went to a talk, and that's where they were talking about. It was some vegan society or vegetarian society because he's a vegetarian.
Right.
I know, a Muslim vegetarian. Who'd have thought
Shock
it?
horror. Rahima, she's also another one. But
and a male.
Well, yes.
Exactly, yeah. But they talked about intermittent fasting, and he found it very funny because he was just like, Mum, I really tried hard not to laugh. He says, what next? I says, do you know what I think they're going to work out next? That actually prostrating 5 times a day does amazing things for your blood flow and your brain power. That's what they're going to find out about
because
next.
the intermittent fasting is about having a window where you eat, which is basically it's very, so you have like a little window of a few hours where you eat. But another thing that I think only in Ramadan is just going around totally sleep deprived.
Yeah.
In a bit of a bubble.
There's lots and lots of things that's only in Ramadan, and we'd like to keep sharing them with you, but we are coming to the end of our show.
The end of the show for another year.
Salma. Yeah, it's been a pleasure, Seema. I really miss you.
Yes.
Not that this is not our relationship is not just only for Ramadan.
We just hang around waiting in the studio.
Yeah, we don't speak to each other for the other 11 months. We keep it all bottled, don't we?
That's great. It's been great working with you, Salma.
Jazakallah for your company as well.
Thank you to everyone for listening.
wish you all a blessed Eid, end of Ramadan. Assalamu alaikum. Ramadan special EAVA FM 102.5 FM. Assalamu alaikum.